If you want to learn how to avoid dating a trans person, specifically a trans woman, then carry on watching this video. It's not very lovely advice. Hey Spuds, how's it going? I hope you're well. I am Jamie. Welcome back to another video. Thank you for clicking on this video. Strap yourselves in, because this might be a long one, and if it's not a long one, it's definitely going to be a frustrating one. Maybe a bit funny though as well. This is basically my reaction to some advice, a post, a thing that was written by a trans-exclusionary radical feminist, someone who's very transphobic, about how to avoid dating a trans woman if you're a lesbian. If you're a cis lesbian. Spoiler, it's hugely transphobic and I would not recommend following any of the advice. If you don't want to date a trans person, just don't date a trans person, that's fine. Don't be a butthole about it. So trans-exclusionary radical feminists, TERF for short, it's just an acronym, is a description of somebody who is a feminist, but also actively excludes trans women from this type of feminism and is transphobic. Not just towards trans women, but I think most of it is aimed towards trans women, but also to trans men. TERF logic essentially boils down to trans women being predatory men who want to invade women's spaces, and trans men being traitorous lesbians. Ignoring everything else wrong with that, as in it's all just wrong, it completely ignores the fact that there are gay trans people. And when I talk about sexual orientation, I am basing it off of gender. So a gay trans man would be a trans man attracted to other men because he is a man and he is attracted to men, so there. Ta-da. Because another part of TERF logic is that sexual orientation should be based purely off of biological sex. Apparently we can be attracted to chromosomes, but we all know we can't be. It's really just a way to invalidate trans people's identities, and it makes zero sense. I could never imagine a lesbian being attracted to me. Anyway, that is not what this video is about, or not entirely what this video is about. I just thought we needed a little bit of background on trans exclusionary radical feminists and the beliefs there to understand better this wonderful bit of dating advice I'm about to talk you through. So I came across this piece of advice written by a transphobic lesbian for other cis lesbians to try and avoid dating trans women. Except they don't refer to trans women as trans women, they call them TIMs, T-I-Ms, which is trans-identified males. And basically, not basically, just throughout the whole piece, thing, bit of text, refer to trans women as men and use male pronouns. It's very uncomfortable. If you don't want to date a trans person, you don't have to date a trans person, but that's just being very not nice. It's literally a guide of stereotypical physical and behavioural things that apparently if women do, then they must definitely be trans or are probably trans, and if you avoid women who show these things, then you can avoid dating a trans woman. It makes zero sense, and also the latter bit gets very weird about bottom surgery for trans women, and we will get to that bit. Anyway, this post is called, and it's got a long title, so I'm going to read it. A Lesbian's Guide to Avoiding TIMs on Dating Sites / when looking for a girlfriend. They begin by listing a weird bunch of stereotypically non-feminine things that can actually be applicable to cis women sometimes, and a lot of them are not always applicable to trans women. It's very strange. Are you ready? Because this is a list, and if you have any of them, then transphobic lesbians are not going to want to date you. A deep / falsetto voice. Broad shoulders. Better not hit the gym. No curves. Flat chests / obviously stuffed bras, because cis women are not allowed to have smaller chests. Very, and emphasis on the very, hairy bodies. I've now run out of fingers, I'm just gonna stop counting. But they make sure to let you know that they are in no way body hair shaming. Flat butts. What? Just flat butts. Their hands. Look at the hands. They also use male pronouns here and the term real women. Who apparently have very different hands to trans women. And you must make sure that you spend a lot of time staring at different hands to make sure you can spot the difference. That just sounds creepy to me. And like, some people will start assuming you have a hand fetish. Nothing wrong with having a hand fetish, but it is still a little bit creepy just to stare at strangers' hands. The next thing is having longer and thicker bones than women. Specifically, they recommend you check femur length. Yes, because we should all start taking measuring tapes on dates with us. And to be extra safe, maybe even a portable x-ray machine. Big heads. Big heads. Another one for the measuring tape. And then finally, male facial structures and male mannerisms. I mean, wow, that's a lot of poo. That's just a pile of poo, really, isn't it? And literally, so much of this could apply to cis women, and it's really shaming non-feminine women, cis and trans. It's like, you have to fit this stereotypical perfect ideal of physical and behavioural femininity to be classed as a real woman. It's not just excluding trans women, it's also excluding masculine cis women. What if you're into lifting at the gym and you have broader shoulders because that's what you're into? Are transphobic lesbians gonna think you're a trans woman? Although then they might not, because you could have that round butt from doing loads of squats. I don't know. But also having things like polycystic ovary syndrome can lead to higher levels of testosterone. And one thing that can then lead to is being a bit hairier. And then on the other hand, trans women can have behavioural and physical qualities that are more typically associated with femininity. Taking estrogen would also lead to a lot of the things on this list not applying to trans women, such as flatter chests. This list is really frustrating, and I know I've already said this before, but it's like, it's not just being arseholey towards trans women and excluding trans women, which is just wrong, but also cis women who do not fit some weird societal level of femininity that is expected of them. What happened to gender non-conformity and variation, and just why? Oh. It's so backwards for trans women and cis women. It just makes zero sense. Like, here is a list of what makes a woman real enough, but we're not done yet. Oh no, that list of very weird things that in the process of trying to be an arsehole towards trans women is also arseholey towards cis women who do not fit some societal norm of femininity. It gets weirder. It gets weirder. It starts talking about genitals and lower surgery, and things can always get a bit weird when transphobes start obsessing over trans people's genitals. They start this next section by saying that being in a bedroom with a trans woman can be dangerous, basically accusing trans women of being dangerous predators. They make the very clever observation that it will become clear if you're about to sleep with a trans woman if when they get undressed they have a penis, and that if this is the case you should execute program, get the hell out of there. The worst thing about this section is just the constant use of male pronouns and invalidating trans women, and also accusing them of being dangerous predators. But then they move on, and it gets one step weirder onto how you make sure the woman you're about to sleep with is not a post-operative trans woman. The funniest point on here is the one about butthole hair, and yes, that's a real sentence that just came out of my mouth. They say that although cis women can have butthole hair, like hair around the butthole, the hair will be super curly and just not quite feminine looking if it's the hair of a trans woman. This list is so rude, but just at times so funny. Like, what does that even mean? Curly butthole hair equals male in their minds. That's how they categorize it. Forget chromosomes, arsehole hair is now the in thing. Also, who the hell has time to think about butthole hair that much? I'm sorry, I'm very focused on that because it made me laugh. They then carry on describing differences between trans women's vaginas and cis women's vaginas in a really odd game of like, spot the difference between the vaginas, and call trans women's vaginas fake vaginas. And this is how you can spot the difference between trans and cis women's vaginas, because trans women's vaginas will apparently have the following: wrinkles on the outer labia left over from the scrotum. I mean, mine was successfully turned into a scrotum. It's all just the same skin. A vagina that cannot naturally lubricate. This one is true as far as I'm aware, but there's loads of variation in natural lubrication. They will be placed in different locations to a real vagina. Yes, because everybody knows that trans women's vaginas are actually placed behind their knees, sometimes on their stomachs. It's actually just a game of find the vagina. The inner labia / vulva will look off. Just off. That's as descriptive as it gets. They don't really know how, they can't tell you how or what's off about it. Apparently, there's like a perfect ideal of vagina for it to be considered real, and if it looks a little bit off, it must be fake. What is a fake vagina? So I mean, that just sounds like recommending doing close-up vaginal inspections to make sure they're real enough. That's not weird at all. So if you want some transphobes to think that your vagina is real enough, you better hope yours is perfect, unwrinkled, in the exact right position, and always naturally lubricated the correct amount. Oh, and that it doesn't look off. All vaginas are different. They all look different. It's basically just saying trans women's vaginas are different in some nondescript way, and they're a bit wrinkly. This post is honestly the most ridiculous bunch of shite I've ever seen. It makes me mad, sad, but also laugh a little bit, especially the butthole hair. I can't believe people actually take the time out to go to that much effort to warn others. It also shows that cis lesbians who are transphobic can and do find trans women attractive sometimes. There would be no need for this kind of list or this kind of effort if it didn't happen. What they're actually doing is raising the possibility and the very real existence of variation among women, both cis and trans. It's invalidating and highly disrespectful to all trans women and some cis women who do not fit this like turf level of perfect womanhood or having the perfect vagina. And finally, I just want to finish by saying it confuses me that people feel the need to so desperately announce that they don't want to date a trans person, especially if they keep doing this over and over again. There are people that do. It's fine if you don't want to date a trans person, like just don't date trans people then, but it's not fine to take it to this extreme level of actually just being very transphobic to announce to the world how much you don't want to date a trans person. So yeah, that was their guide, their very useless, weird guide of how to avoid dating a trans woman if you're a cis lesbian. Trans women always get the brunt of transphobia, it's so unfair, can we just not? I hope you enjoyed this video. This was another Jamie reacts. I like doing these react videos. If there's anything else you would like me to react to, if you've seen something you think would be interesting to see me respond to, then leave that in the comments below or just let me know somehow, some way, somewhere. Instagram DMs would be useful. My Instagram is down below in the description box. And yeah, if you like this video, think about giving it a thumbs up and subscribing, but no pressure if you don't want to. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Much love. Bye. Look at the pretty kitty.